Hello. Hello, beautiful people. Cortney here with Stars of the Morning Light. I thank you for being patient with me. This past week, a lot went on and my household was sick. So I appreciate your patience. With that being said, this video and the next couple of videos are not going to be as detailed. Because I just need to regroup. I'm just moving slow. Which is fine. I have patience and compassion for myself. And even though we learn that patience means long suffering, I'm very compassionate with myself right now for just moving slower. I'm hoping all of you are healthy, happy, and beautiful. And if not, that pendulum is going to move back in your favor. Just believe. Stars of the Morning Light, for those who are just now visiting, is a complete spiritual resource platform. There will be a link to my website below. Here on YouTube, I normally am teaching from ancient texts. You can go back and watch any of the videos. The last one that was live, I appreciate all of those who attended, was about the human free will. And I'm going to go a little bit more into that today, because today I am just kind of going to go off the cuff a little bit, because I am being compassionate to myself, and talk about the Akashic Records and how that also ties into free will. Okay, so I believe some people with the last live video about it might have interpreted what I was saying a bit off. When I was saying we don't just follow our heart's desire when, the world is telling us, especially all these spiritual leaders, follow your heart. What I really want to make very clear about that is that it's kind of like that old saying, be careful what you ask for. Because my heart right now, we had a car completely, all in the course of like 3 days, the piston rod blew out the engine of one of our cars. Our stove completely broke down, and we had the Omicron all happening at once. So of course my immediate reaction, my immediate emotions was, even though I'm sicker than a dog, I need to take care of all this, take care of it. No. And so that's what I meant about our heart's desires are not always aligned with what we really need and what is good, because we tend to wrap our emotions up in things and think that that's our heart desire. Our heart desire is really what we're designed here to do, our life purpose. That's what people are referring to as heart's desire, not things that are attached to these outside aspects, these outside influences, these possessions, as we have talked about in previous lectures here. But when it all happens, those emotions are so tied up in all sorts of stuff of, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Why is everything crumbling? And, that's okay, because that pendulum is going to come back in our favor, but also that just makes us rethink, rebuild, really go, okay, what do I truly need to follow here? What do we truly need in our life? What is going on, and sort out all those emotions and the ego and the pride that might be there if, there was a hurt involved or gossip involved or what have you. We got to kind of flush all that out to get to the truth of what our true heart's desire is. If I had in my life always received what I immediately wanted or what I thought I wanted, I thank my lucky stars, let's just say that. I thank my lucky stars I didn't always receive what I wanted. So that's what I meant by that. We have to have everything flowing together. Our mind, soul, heart, flame, ego in check. We have to have it all flowing and working as one so we can pursue our true heart's desire. With that being said, I am going to speak right now about the Akashic Records. It's something I do know a lot about, so I'm kind of just going off the cuff right now to explain this to people. I have done a podcast with We're All Psychics podcast at one point about the Akashic Records with Lisa and Misty. I believe they're also going to be on here soon for an interview with me, because I always want to try to at least once a month interview people. And I can attach that link below as well if you want to also listen to that, because who knows what I said there compared to what I'm going to say here. I believe there's also a brief explanation on my meditation podcast. I believe I did one about the Akashic Records there too. The meditation podcast at Stars of the Morning Light is mostly meditations. And I'm going to be talking about that again at the end here. So, the Akashic Records, what is it? I think a lot more people are hearing snippets of the Akashic Records and what is it. Especially if any of you watch Ancient Aliens on the History Channel, which I do love them. I should maybe throw it out there that I guess I would be in that category of ancient alien theorist, what have you. They started talking about the records. There's a lot of other programs that have started talking about the records. So the Akashic Records, I tend to refer to it as the Akashic realm. And yes, we can all access that. I actually really want to emphasize that the records, the beings that I guess you would say work in the records and communicate and, you know, also guard the records, they want more of us working in the records, going to the records. So let's talk about that. I refer to the Akashic Records more as the Akashic realm. Many use the term records because it is as if there are the records, the books. I do refer to the books as if it's kind of like a database of everything that has ever happened and the possibility of all that could happen. I'm going to emphasize that, the possibility of all that could happen. So, us humans, and even star seeds, other beings, okay, all that information is there. I refer to it as a realm instead of so much the records. I kind of interchange those words a lot because when I'm working in it, it is as if my body is here, but my conscious is somewhere else. It's another realm, and so to speak, that you go to. Everyone I've heard, people who work in the records, I've heard different variations of what they see. Some have seen it like a very like crystal type of place, like, you know, they might hand you a crystal and you just download the information off that crystal, or, you know, stuff like that. Others have seen, here's the reason why. Everybody kind of sees different stuff. And also when you're there and they give you maybe a vision of some kind of something that symbolizes something, that is going to represent something to the reader. Okay. Why that is because even if you start working with celestial beings, angels, anything, they are going to present themselves to you in a way that you feel secure, safe, and understandable to you. So for me, when I go to the records, and I'll get more into how that came into being, for me, it is essentially like a library. But when I get there, there's a big gate, and then like a huge, like stone wall around it. And I have to, when I'm at the front of the gate, which is locked, the records should be locked. And when you're done with them, you need to lock them up. I have to present myself there. And then I'm allowed in, and then I see like this kind of like huge courtyard area. And I'm explaining this for reasons. And then, there's like this long walkway, and then there is this huge, it would look more like a Greek style with like the pillars, like a huge, kind of like, somewhat like the, like Capitol buildings here in the U.S., or any Greek pillars and a huge building, cement brick type building. Okay, that's how I see when I'm first going in. So when I first go in, so I'm at the gate. I have to ask for everything is very kind of ritual in a way, but it's mostly just respect. So I'm at the gate. I ask to be let in. I'm let in. Then at the doorway of the, I walk through. I'm under the pillars. I'm at the door of the library of the Akashic Records. I say something again, and usually that's when I say, my name, and I'm here representing who would be you if you were one of my clients. I'm let in again, and then once I'm inside the library, in my library, yes, it looks very much like books covering the walls, and it's rich and beautiful and wood, and I love it. Okay. When I cross through the threshold of the door there, I state again who I'm there to represent, or if the client is on the phone, they actually say their name, so their frequency can be attached to all this. And then that's when they go to retrieve your book and or books. So this place, and at that time, they show me some kind of imagery as to how this reading is going to go, or what is very significant right now that they need to know. They do then bring a book and or books. I have learned through the years of doing this that if this reading is going to go into past life stuff, they usually are carrying this very, 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 very large book, set it down, and I'm like, whoa. But then that book divides out into like 3 or 4 books, meaning representing to me, okay, we gotta look at some past life stuff that is intertwined into this life and see what's going on here. So hence, all of our life's stories are there. Every life that we have lived is there. All the information of the galaxy, the planet Earth, all of the information that, and I want to say factual information. Here on Stars of the Morning Light YouTube, we talk a lot about with ancient texts. Not all of those are accurate. Not all of those are true representation of things that actually happened. And it's also missing a lot of parts. In the records, in the Akashic Records, the Akashic Realm, you are able to receive that information. So not only is it the information about you and I and all the lives that we've lived, all the information of the planet, all the information of galactic aspects, all of this information is there. Now, when I said possibilities of future events or future this, there have been many people throughout history. Nostradamus, supposedly was able to get into the records, which I do believe Nostradamus could. A lot of them. The one that we, in today's world, that you're mostly going to hear about is Edgar Cayce. I have a lot of good material here on Edgar Cayce. I started studying Cayce 2013, I want to say. I had always knew who he was, but like I really started reading his I started with his biography, then moved to this and moved to that. And that was before I ever even thought I would do anything with the Akashic Records. Ever. So I didn't start actually working in the records until 2016. So Edgar Cayce, this is his Edgar Cayce, the American Prophet. This is one of his bios. I don't have a cover for this anymore. There is the About My Father's Business. This is his son wrote this, because could you imagine growing up with who your father was? Who Edgar Cayce was, and I'm bringing him up because he's the most notable that you're going to most likely look up to understand more about the records. As a child, for some reason, even though he could read well, he had a connection to things, I'll tell you that, with kind of being a medium, also seeing things that others don't see, like fairies and stuff like that. When he was a child, though, maybe, let's say, tween ages, and I'm just doing this off of memory, he had to study a lot to try to pass his tests, and he was actually not that great of a student. And he would study and study and study and still not do well on tests. And one afternoon, after studying for this test that was going to take place, I think probably right before high school, maybe somewhere in the middle school time period, he was frustrated and he decided to take a nap. Well, in his sleep, when he came out of it, all of a sudden, he knew all of the information that he read, like from word to word, plus information about that topic that he hadn't read. He aced the test. I mean, something happened while he was sleeping. So he ended up, through the course of his life, being referred to as the sleeping prophet. And everybody thought, oh, he's going into some kind of sleep. What he was doing is he was going into a deep meditative trance, deep meditation, which appears that you are sleeping. And he used his gift to heal people. Great healer. Here's, his home medicine guide. So Edgar Cayce, who is also from the state of Kentucky in the United States, this is turn of the century-ish. I can't remember when he was born. Think of the 20s, the 30s, that time, okay? Of when he was working a lot, into the 40s. Rural areas, doctors, where are they? It's hard to find a doctor. He would go to people's homes, go into this meditative state, and find out what in the local area or in that person's home they can use to heal all sorts of medical issues these people were having. What was growing right outside their door. or what was in their cabinet that they never even thought about using. He was able to receive that information. He was going to the Akashic Records, unknowingly really what was happening. Now, as he continued to do this in his career, helping people, and Casey, he was a lovely, lovely, lovely man who really just thought about giving and loving on people. It caused difficulty within business. It's oftentimes that's an issue with people that work in this realm of things. There was a time though, and he kind of always questioned his ability, even though hundreds and hundreds of people he healed. He always questioned it. And at one point, his son was extremely sick. And he had this inner fight within himself about going into that trance, into that meditative state, to the records, to find out what to heal his son, because he still did not trust what was going on. But he did. He took that leap of faith. And his son is fine and well. After that, he kind of really realized that he did have a gift to offer. He did have an ability to gain information that was needed. So he also started dabbling into letting messages out from what happened with Atlantis, what our planet is going to look like come the future. You can look it up. Maybe I'll post something below. It's called the Edgar Cayce map, global map. I don't want to get way too into that. I also know what he's referring to there. If you ever hear me talk about the Great Crack, that's how it's represented to me when I'm receiving information pertaining to what is the Cayce's map. I call it the Great Crack. So he was able to start giving out prophecies, okay? In regards to that, so that's Edgar Cayce. Start looking into him. I mean, he's got, what do I have here? I have also, so the Home Medicine Guide. These are just some of my books on, this is him on reincarnation that we were just talking about for a moment. This is Edgar Cayce on secrets of the universe and how to use them in your life. From, the power of gratitude, also the power of giving, the power of this. So, the Akashic Records. Let's go back to what we were originally talking about. I wanted you to really know about him. He is more my source as far as like a teacher of this stuff. Also, one of the books that I do want to represent here is The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records by Lisa Barnett. This is a very, 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 very good book as far as people writing and teaching and working in this. So, the Akashic Records, like we were saying, holds all of the information about us and our past lives, about the planet, about past, present, and future, all things. When we talk about future, it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky, especially right now, as I've talked in other videos here, that everybody's timelines are shifting and moving and nothing's really anchored right now, which is fine. That's beautiful. That's because we're at this great time of awakening and awareness and change. So when prophets or people even like myself, like I refer to as the Great Crack, that I know that is a part of my job here on this planet. So that will be revealed more and more over time to get us prepared for that. when we talk about these things, it definitely right now is hard to put a clear date on stuff or a clear picture on stuff. And that even means in our own personal timelines and records. I could go to, let's say, I'm just going to say myself, okay? Let's say I go to the records for myself, because I do. I need guidance. And I say, okay, so what do I do with this? Or what should I do here? What should I do there? Because everything is kind of loosey-goosey, moving, flowing with this 2022 water flow of energy, just moving and moving. Nothing is anchored. It will be, but not right now. They can go, well, Cortney, you really should be doing this. But we also know how you operate in your own free will. So here's your options. If you do this, this is what it'll look like. This is how the next few months can play out. If you do this, this is how this will play out. If you do that. And when I say our own free will, so I could get tons of information about what I should be doing from day in and day out. That is actually the point of the records, and that's why they want everybody there. They also want you there for a lot of other reasons. We're going to talk about that at the end. I can get all the information. I can get tons of information. I can also have tons of awareness. I can also find out how this is going to go and how that's going to go. That does not mean that if I get scared, if I'm prideful, if I'm lazy, if I'm lustful, if I'm any of the 7 deadly sins operating in me, I can at any time just refuse that's what they said to do. Our free will overrides all things. Our free will creates all things. So every time I make a decision, either for what the records tell me to do, or the opposite end, I do something way over here, I'm creating a new possibility. I'm creating a new flow, a new energy flow. So at any time, we're all doing that. That's why the human free will is, it's just so powerful. I wish so many people understood that. It is so powerful. So right now, we are all doing that so dramatically. So there are infinite possibilities. Toth talked about it. I know we talked about it in other lectures. There are infinite possibilities of what can happen in our own life that also affects the people around us and the planet. What we do, what we choose, our actions and words and decisions we make affect others. I was into my 20s by the time I figured that really out. That my actions actually do affect others. They affect people, places, and things. So, that's why everything's kind of loose right now. There are some things that are definitely in place for the greater good or the detriment of what needs to be let go of. And so those things are in place, but as far as time-wise, they kind of get loose. I will tell you, I knew about this current time period, let's say, and all that was going on. I knew about that, but I was actually 2 years off. Instead of 2 years ahead of when I received that information, it happened 4 years later. You see what I'm saying? It happened 4 years instead of the 2 years. I was doing all sorts of prep for, about 1.5 years, and then I completely forgot about that, and then all of a sudden it showed up without me even paying attention, because I don't watch the news and all that jazz. I just don't do that. So I was really caught off guard, because it was actually 4 years later than when I was told. So that's what I mean. Everything as far as like people pinpointing, this is when this is going to happen, this is when that's going to happen. That is not necessarily ever so. I would be cautious as to who I listen to that says that. Even if they say they can go to the records or not, I'm just giving you the truth here. The time is, our concept of time is very loose. It doesn't even really exist, and we will look at that much later in these videos. So when someone says stuff like that, this is me just saying, be cautious. In the records though, so when I started studying, working towards getting there, I kind of always had a knack or gift for meditation. And I was taught meditation at a very young age, at like the age of 8, because I was suffering from horrible nightmares due to past life situations. A lot of young kids go through that. Leave the doorway open for communication because they are not knowing how to process that. But because I wasn't talking about it, because I didn't know what was really happening, I decided I was just going to stop sleeping. And that came into full scope for my mom and everybody around, of like, Cortney's just choosing not to sleep. What's going on? So I was taught meditation to help me fall asleep and sleep safely. Well, then I kept going. I just kept going with this love and desire to learn and develop meditation skills, to the point that, I'm, definitely by high school, I'm in communication with my guides, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And so I do have an innate gift for it, but everyone can develop healthy meditation skills. So when we're talking about the Akashic realm, how to get there, it does take that. It does take, I always say, regardless of the Akashic Records or not, the fundamental pillars or foundation, cornerstones to any spiritual development, any spiritual growth, is meditation and gratitude. I will say that over and over in my life, okay? Meditation, what it can do over a period of time of practicing and working on it and trying different techniques that really work for you. There was some stuff that came out of the 70s that just does not work for me, which is fine. It might work for you. It's a lot of very insane, heavy breathing and releasing. It came out of the 70s, and it's not my jam. It might work for you. But the more we can develop that, the more we are able to open our mind, biochemistry wise and spiritually wise, soul wise, conscious wise. And the more we can start developing that and getting further and further expansion, then we have the ability to access the Akashic Records. They said, my mom raised me, because a lot of kids like myself were born with a lot of multiple gifts going on at once. And some of them you end up completely discarding by the time you're 9-10 years old. Others become heightened. By adulthood, you tend to need to pick and choose what you're going to actually work with and develop the skills and create boundaries and really be able to hone that gift, opposed to having all sorts of stuff going on. And for example, I am capable of doing mediumship stuff, but I chose in my early 20s to let that go entirely. So I don't even focus on that anymore. I am shut down to it. But my mom, as a kid, always referred to as my abilities as having your antennas up. And if ever there's just too much energy in the house, let's say, or too much stuff going on, my mom would say, hey, Cortney, you got to put your antennas down. And that is a skill that can be developed, and especially in meditation. But what's interesting is science then has found that in our brain, I'm trying to remember where exactly these are mostly located. I want to say the cerebral cortex, but this is going off memory. So we're just going to say in the brain, they have found that people that have psychic abilities can, distance viewing, that sort of thing, can access the records. We have these little stimuli things, these little, it's kind of, they look like little strings that they refer to as like little antennas. That when that part of the brain starts activating, they start going like this. They start moving around. So my mom referring to as, hey, Cortney, put your antennas down. It was her saying, you need to quiet your mind. It's getting wild in here with energy. Slow it down, Cortney. Put them down. Quiet it down. Go take a nap. So we all have those. Mine are activated. Yours just might not be. So you can activate them. But we don't want to just activate something and then not have it, not have any understanding or other skills to support that activation, right? So with the records, they all want us to eventually, yes, be going to the records and getting information for ourselves, for others, everything. That was very, that information was given to me years ago. How they want the majority of us actively using the Akashic Records. When I started actually practicing going to the records, you know how I talked about how I see that big kind of fortress gate, and then there's like this big gate and I have to go in. I will say for the first, I think the first like 4 months, and I was going 3 times a week because I was practicing, I was developing my skills. So for the first 4 months of going 3 times a week, I was not even allowed into the actual library, let's say. I would have to be out in the courtyard area talking to celestial beings, talking to my guides, what have you, asking only questions about myself, and they would give me all the information I wanted about me. And then they would say, okay, for the next 3 weeks, we want you to do X, Y, and Z. And it could be so random. I mean, it could be, for the next 3 weeks, we want you to eat a kiwi every other day and journal on Friday nights and change the oil in your car. Something like that, okay? And you'd be like, why do you want me to, or, whatever it was. We want you to take a shower at 1 p.m. every day for the next week. I mean, it would be such random stuff. But what they were doing is teaching me at the same time of, we do know what we're talking about. There's a reason why we're asking you to take a shower at 1 p.m. every day this week. But you don't know that until you're done with that week. Looking back at, oh my gosh, they didn't know that I was going to be doing yard work until noon. You see what I'm saying? I didn't know. Of course they would say that. They were showing me, A, that I could trust them, and they did know what they were talking about. They were also, with all these little things, they were stripping me of so much of the human condition, of judging. There were many a times that they would give me a prayer that I had to use every week, or a mantra that I would have to use. That, yeah, when that person cuts you off on the road, or when this paperwork doesn't get filed correctly, or when, say this mantra, say this prayer. So not only were they helping me to build trust with them, because I have severe trust issues as a human, and showing me that they do know exactly what they're talking about. They were stripping me of all these sorts of human conditions, judgment, insecurities, fears, seeing things as negative and positive when it's all loose and gray. They were stripping me of those concepts while I was there and helping me to understand them more in my active life. Because while I'm there, I'm in a deep meditative state, even though I'm physically here. And even though I might be able to communicate with you, that's just because I've developed skills over time. The first year or two of me doing this, I didn't even have clients. It was just me in deep meditative states. So they were stripping me of all these human concepts, because when I'm there, when I finally was able to get into the library, after them working with me for I think it was about 4 or 5 months, before I could even have access to all this celestial, wonderful, global knowledge, spiritual knowledge, they also stripped me of any curiosity, because things had to be revealed in their time, right? I had to learn that. They're working with me, and I have to respect how they want me to receive. So once I got in, like I said, I spent like another 2 years. Well, I spent at least another 8 months of just accessing my stuff, my past lives, what I needed to do, and some, global and galactic stuff. I mean, things that they revealed in their time working with me based out of my knowledge, respect, and understanding. And so it took maybe I'd say there was like another 8 months of me doing that. And then I started branching out, doing readings for other people, but still not like how Casey was. Not fully trusting yet that I knew what I was doing and that I was receiving the right information, even though it had been proven to me over and over and over again that I was. Once you start working with other people like Casey was to try to heal people, you still have this little bit of human doubt. So that took another at least like 2 years. So it is a process. That's why I'm explaining that. It is a process. But we all have the ability. And even just this past week, when my entire household was sicker than a dog, one morning in that twilight of when you first kind of wake up and you receive messages, and sometimes you miss them, sometimes you get them, it was said very clear to me how the world had an obsession with reading the Bible as is how the world needs to read the records as is. Meaning, how we have put so much emphasis on the Bible, and I'm not saying that the Bible's wrong. I'm saying that because so many people have always gone there for the truth, the light, the way, that now it needs to start flipping big time to all of us going to the Akashic Records for the truth, the light, the way. And it needs to start flipping. It needs to start going that route. And they very much want everybody there. I will say, if you are in any disrespect, if curiosity is intriguing you to get in there, they will block you. There are guards. They will block you. You will not access the records as they are intended. Please work with the records, not against the records. You really do have to be stripped of so much. With that being said, I do want to say again, this is, I think, one of the best books you can get, Amazon, whatever. She does teach courses too. I have no idea how much they cost. I will most likely start teaching a course next year. The Infinite Wisdom to the Akashic Records by Lisa Barnett. It is very, very good. I would start here, and I would also start with, you have to develop, because this question has been asked to me many a times over. If we can all access them, where do we start? Start with developing your meditation skills and expanding your consciousness through that. We can all do that. I am going to leave a link below. I have a meditation podcast at starsofthemorninglight.com. In that podcast, though, last year I had done a meditation 101 and then meditation 101 part 2. It is a 2-week series of me explaining meditation in parts 1 and parts 2, but also through, in I think 2 or 3 weeks, every day you will be, if you listen to them in a row, every day you'd be working on a new technique. You'd be practicing and building on top of building meditation skills. From also, not just expanding your consciousness, but raising your vibration. This is also about vibration, gratitude, having that gratitude, how to actually calm the mind and accept what's happening around you while you're calming your mind. All sorts of skills. So I'm going to put a link below this about, I think I'll just start with meditation 101, listen to that, and then follow the 10, 15-minute meditations of each day after that. And that follow in the dates, of course. That will help you develop skills that once you can kind of get into, and it's not just me who says this, guys. Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet, he was in a deep meditative state. All of your gurus, all people that can access things like this. This is where they're gonna say start. Okay, I'm not alone with this. So I will leave that link below. You are capable, but it requires opening your consciousness more. And we can't just do that with our will alone. Yes, the intention needs to be there, our will needs to be there, but the skills and abilities need to be developed so you can handle that amount of higher consciousness. So I hope this helps. I didn't go into, I'm hoping it helps. If not, there is, like I said, I'm going to add the podcast I did with We're All Psychics. There might be more that I talked about in the Akashic realm there that I didn't touch on here. Look up Edgar Casey. Start looking up the records yourself. I know that Ancient Aliens on the History Channel has done a couple of good episodes on it. Lisa Barnett's book. I'm going to set a link to my Meditation 101 so you can really start developing the skills and practicing, because yes, you can access the records. It might take some time. well worth it. We all need to get there because in the records is the truth, the light, and the way. So I love you. I love you. I love you. If you're interested in getting an Akashic Records reading with me, we can always do it via phone, via some kind of social media. You do not need to be present here in the United States or here in the state of Georgia. I'll also attach that link below. It's on my website at starsofthemorninglight.com. I can always give you a reading. I believe I have them going right now for like $65 US for like a 45-minute reading, which is very reasonable. Why? Because I'm a healer. And so I love you all. I hope this helped. And like I said, if you're going through a little bit of a rough patch, as we also are in this household, it will all be okay. That pendulum, it's got to swing back, babies. So I love you all. Namaste.